Today in the Boot Guy, we are looking at the Workin' Sport 9337 American-made 8-inch boot. It's not very often I get to do this. I get to show off a boot that is now extinct. This beautiful boot that looks like it could have been made by Weinbrenner boots. The leather feels like it, the stitching, the logoing, everything feels like Weinbrenner. Well, guess what? It is Weinbrenner. Weinbrenner is a jobber company. And if you listen to my podcast, you would have heard Matt from Weinbrenner make that statement. What that means, and you can find this information on their website, is that they will make boots for anybody as long as the allotment is enough. So a company as big as Farm and Fleet, who does own the Workin' Sport line, when they came to Weinbrenner many years ago looking to have boots made, why couldn't they do it, right? So they did, and this is what they had. And plus other boots too at the time. There used to be more boots that they had in the Workin' Sport line that was American made. I'm going back about 10 years since the first time that I saw a pair of American made jobber boots by Weinbrenner in a Farm and Fleet store. And I have to say, I was impressed then, and I am impressed today. So before I get to the fact of how sad I am to see an American-made, domestic-made, union-made product leave the shelves and get replaced by something that is made overseas that is not domestic, let's first talk about this boot in the present tense. Even though now it doesn't exist anymore, and if you're going to find one, you're going to find it in the closeout section. Let's just take a really good look at it. So right off the bat, the thing that really strikes me odd is this neoprene sole. This is a sole like you would have found on boots in the early 90s. When boots were still made in America, there was a lot of boot companies that used this type of neoprene sole. And you still see this neoprene sole today on really inexpensive boots. So for them to use it on this beautiful American-made upper and then use this sole doesn't make sense, but at the same time it does make sense because you're not going to put that beautiful Max Wear wedge sole on a boot that's not carrying the Thorogood name. So they had to put something on it, so they use this neoprene sole. This neoprene sole, soft, comfortable, not durable by any means. It will wear down quickly. It will chip out. But as a casual, comfortable boot, if you're going to wear this as a summertime boot because it is single-piece leather, the neoprene sole is pretty comfortable. Now the leather is Seidel leather. There was a tag in the box, even though it was the only tag in the box. It was a Seidel leather tag, and I do believe that I've held enough boots made out of this leather that I can say yes, it is. It feels like it. The thickness doesn't feel any thinner than, say, a 4200 or a 4364 or anything like that. It feels right in there, and it is pretty nice. Now, the stitching and the manufacturing on this thing, that's where you can actually see that they switch stuff over on the machines when they're doing jobber stuff, when they're doing less expensive work. Because when you look at a pair of Thorogoods today, you see stitching that is pretty thick and heavy. Just this thickness of the thread was the first thing that caught my eye. When I think about what I see on a 4200 or a 4364 or even some of the new 3600s, that stitching really stands out. The thickness of the thread, the heaviness of the thread really stands out. This thread, very thin. It doesn't make that statement. And I mean all the way around. The thread just feels different. Now the boot is fully welted, so you could resole it if you could find a pair. Now, when you go inside this boot, you're not going to find the super soft orthotic that you find in most other Weinbrenner products. But what you will find is the pour-on insole that is attached to the boot. So that means that gives you room inside there to put a comfortable insole in there. I'm not saying that you need it. If you can find a pair of these, they're going to be comfortable right out of the box with just that piece of pour-on. Eyelid speed laces in the collar, well, the eyelids are the regular eyelids, the hexagonal shaped eyelids that you'll find from Weinbrenner. The speed lace, well, that's something I really don't like. That's that single pressed bent metal speed lace that usually end up bending back and forth. But the good thing about them is that there is a hole on the backside. So when you do keep bending them and flexing them and eventually they crack off, you can run your lace through the hole that exists on the other side. Collar is a beautiful pigskin collar, a little bit of padding on the other side, but it's very nice. It's very Weinbrenner, and you can feel that in there. Size and fit on these, well, I had to pick up a 13EE because I got them off the clearance rack and they fit like a 13EE. Most of the time, I'm a 12D in all Weinbrenner products. Unless I'm buying them wider for the winter, then I'll go a 12EE. But this boot feels long and it feels wide. It feels just like a 13EE. So I would imagine that size and fit on this thing would be spot on because they are built on a Weinbrenner last. And that's where we're going to get to the next problem about swapping these out for a non-domestic pair. So yes, I am horribly sad to see this boot go away. Mainly because when you walk into a shop, there is fewer and fewer union-made products on the shelf. There's fewer and fewer American-made products on the shelf. And this is just one less thing that's going to be on the shelves for us to pick up and spend our money and keep it in that ever-revolving cycle. The other reason I'm sad to see these go is because they actually are a quality boot. I mean, there's everything that goes into this is quality. There's really no steps that have been skipped outside of the using thinner thread. Everything else feels pretty much spot on for this style of boot. Now you're probably asking yourself, why did they discontinue this? Well, more than likely or not, with this at the highest price that it's been was $129.99 was too much money for the people shopping at Blaine's Farm and Fleet picking up this style of boot. If I had to guess, if I had to use the big brain, I would say that they did a market research study, that they took the boot that they sell now, which is number 9737, they put them side by side, they put a sale tag on the non-American made one, and they sold more of them because of price. So, which just shows that people are still buying based off of price and they're not buying based off of country of origin. It's understandable. That's just how people are. That's just how we are. We want to take care of our families. We want to put food on the table. Sometimes our own situation is much more important than the grander scheme of things. So I am sad to see these go. I truly am. I'm just sad to see that there's not going to be an American-made product that you can just walk in and pick up and walk out with at a very reasonable price at that. So that's the 93 37 8-inch boot from Workin' Sport. Hey, if you were lucky enough to ever own or buy several pairs of these boots, if this was your boot, please comment below and just reminisce with us what it was like breaking in a pair, how they felt, and also if you can, just let us know if you're also sad about seeing the American-made products just going away. Hey, if you want to see some of the detailed photos I took of this boot so you can reminisce also just what it was like to see something like this, an inexpensive American-made boot, swing by to bootguy.com. I will have all those photos and just a little bit more information about this boot compiled into a single blog posting titled Workin' Sport. Hey, please don't forget to hit my subscribe button below. You know it really helps out. And remember, down below in the description box, you can find links to all my social media, my Instagram, my Facebook, and now my recently started Patreon page. If you're lucky enough to find a pair of these in your size on the clearance rack at Farm and Fleet, pick them up. Don't hesitate. At the inexpensive price that they're selling them for right now, I picked up this pair for $74. You cannot go wrong. It's probably never going to happen that you're going to see a quality American-made product for that cheap. So go for it. All right, until the next time, I'm the Boot Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.